Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together and give a big warm welcome to our Premier, the Honourable Cathy Dunderdale.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is my sincere pleasure, it truly is, to be here with you this evening. And I feel very much at home here, especially when I look around and see so many faces that I recognize from my own time in municipal government and during my years as MHA Minister and Premier. I hope you're having as much fun at convention as I used to have. I loved convention. And let me tell you, I was a councillor down in Burin on the South Coast, and getting here was half as much fun as the convention itself. Sometimes some of our councillors weren't really able to function after they arrived. But it made for an interesting run up the Terrenceville track, let me tell you. It is so important for gifted and motivated people like you to get involved in municipal government, because building strong communities is vital to the success of our province. As municipal leaders, you create vibrant, economically sustainable communities. You look for solid growth opportunities in diverse industries and sectors to create employment for people and income for your towns. You know that identifying opportunities and turning them into prosperity requires vision, foresight, planning, and action. To identify the best and the most worthwhile opportunities to grow, we need community leaders who are forward thinkers, innovators, and prepared to think outside the box. We need people who are prepared to work, not at cross purposes, but as partners. Nurturing a climate conducive to growth requires collaboration, reliable infrastructure, and sustainable services. We must avoid duplicating services that waste resources. It unfairly burdens taxpayers. It undermines the competitiveness of our employers. It hurts all of us and cannot be justified. Regional partnerships on such initiatives as waste management demonstrate just how much we can achieve by finding new ways to work together. And partnerships take time to sort out. There are rough patches and times of adjustment. But the goal of providing the services our province needs at a cost our people can afford is so important that we must continue to make regional cooperation our constant focus and priority. By continuing to collaborate and share services such as firefighting and recreation, we can achieve economies of scale that will enable us to provide our people with better services than communities could possibly afford by working in isolation. We will be able to achieve more at costs that people can better afford. Here in this room are municipal leaders who have set an example by finding creative ways to share services. Together, every one of us can accomplish more. Newfoundland and Labrador's economy is performing better today than ever before in our history. But robust economic growth does not necessarily translate into more money in municipal government coffers. We understand that. We are listening, and we are willing to work with you to ensure that you can meet our citizens' needs. As a province, we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in municipal infrastructure since 2003. Water and sewer systems, quality drinking water, road repairs. We have invested in all of these things. Since 2008, our funding commitment has grown to more than $500 million province-wide, $500 million in just over 8 years. In our recent budget, we earmarked an additional $130 million over 2 years. Infrastructure funding is just one component of our investment in the strength of our municipalities. Another is the municipal operating grant formula. You came and you talked to us about how you felt the formula could be more transparent and better reflect the changes that have been occurring in municipalities. We have listened to you and we are responding. We have had many discussions with MNL as we enter into a new budget process, and those lines of communication will remain wide open. In the meantime, we chose to provide the same level of extra funding in Budget 2012 for MOGs as was provided in 2011. In addition to the $17.8 million earmarked for communities on an annual basis, we maintained additional funding of $4.6 million. Fiscal resources are finite. That is true at the provincial level as well as the municipal level. And you've heard much talk this week about what the lower cost of oil is doing to the provincial budget. So we need to achieve that perfect balance between tapping revenues to grow infrastructure and services and holding the line on taxes so we don't suffocate growth. And it's a double-edged sword. It truly is. Because you try to keep taxes low, and we have some of the lowest taxes in Atlantic Canada. But sometimes when people aren't paying taxes at a very high rate, then they don't see the reason not to spend more because it doesn't have an impact on their pocketbook. But there's not a money tree growing in the backyard. So we have defined our revenues either from taxation or from revenue from our resources. We as a government believe that we have struck the balance, keeping taxes competitive while continuing to strengthen the infrastructure and services we need to attract new investment. It's a competitive world. Companies have choices, and we want them to make their choice, Newfoundland and Labrador. The new MOG formula will be in line with this approach, fiscally responsible and sustainable, while at the same time fair, transparent, and easily understood. Our overriding objective is to ensure municipalities and regions throughout our province are well positioned to seize the opportunities you need to grow, because the growth that you achieve is the growth that all of us need to move forward. That is where solid leadership, clear vision, and sound planning are indispensable. And now you know I was going to get there somewhere in this speech. And solid leadership, clear vision, and sound planning are what brings me to the subject of Muskrat Falls. On every level, Muskrat Falls is the right way forward for Newfoundland and Labrador. I understand that you had a great presentation yesterday from Ed Martin, President and CEO of Nalcor. And what's important to know about Muskrat Falls, first and foremost, the most important piece of it is that it will address a looming energy deficit in 2019. In 2019, unless we do something now, we will not be able to meet the energy needs of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. So if we haven't found a way to produce more electricity, then we got to ration. That's the simple truth of it. People have argued that point, but all of our experts have said to us, not only are you right in saying that you're going to have an energy deficit, but in fact what you have forecasted is smaller deficit than we expect you're going to have. You're going to need more power than you have actually put in your forecast. Our people will need more power than we can generate in a short 7 years. We have to plan now to meet that challenge, and Muskrat Falls is the best way to do that. Without Muskrat Falls, our electricity rates remain tied to the oil market, with increases continuing unchecked. Check your light bills. They've gone up every year for the last 10 years, and that will continue. With Muskrat Falls, we achieve energy self-sufficiency for our province. Just imagine. We have all of the energy we need for our own purposes right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And it breaks the stranglehold Quebec has over future economic development in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's critical. People have said to me this week, reporters said to me, you've talked more this week about Quebec than you have in the past. Why is that? And what I have said to him is, from the beginning, that has always been a strong component of our planning, to break that yoke of geography. However, Muskrat Falls, first and foremost, must make sense for ratepayers right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Has to make sense for our own people first, and it does. And we've shown it, and we've shown it in spades. As I've said this week to that small, loud opposition to Muskrat Falls that we have out there, fish or cut bait. It's not good enough to say, I don't like it. I think it's too much debt. Or I don't think your forecast is right. Tell us where our analysis is flawed. Tell us where the gaps are. Tell us where Nalcor is wrong. Tell us where MHI is wrong. Tell us where Navigant is wrong. Tell us where the bond rating agencies are wrong. Tell us where the banks are wrong. Tell us where the federal government of Canada is wrong. Tell us where Dr. Wade Locke is wrong. Tell us where the Liberal Party of Canada is wrong. Tell us where the NDP Party of Canada is wrong. Show us something. One shred, one piece of evidence, one expert's analysis. One. Show us one. Nothing. Nothing. They ask for one thing, we provide it. Then they want something else, and we provide that, and they want something else. Not enough information, not enough information, not enough information. Well, the story changed last week because now it's too much information, too much information, too much information. But what Muskrat Falls does is it opens up an export route for surplus power into and through the Maritimes. It means stable electricity rates for consumers and business at the lowest cost. Remember, if we don't do Muskrat Falls, we have to do something else. Everything else we've looked at is more expensive than Muskrat Falls. So Muskrat Falls enables us to retire one of this province's chief polluters at Holyrood and shift to electricity generated from clean, sustainable power. It transitions us to a renewable energy economy and positions us to negotiate from a position of strength for the development of Gull Island and the sale of the Upper Churchill Power 30 years down the road. Now, some of our opponents say we need to wait till we get the power back in 2041. And you wonder why I'm running and exercising at the gym. I'm going to be here in 2041. I am going to be here in 2041. And I hope every one of you are here with me, because that's going to be a sweet day for Newfoundland and Labrador. But we can't sit up in the dark for 20 years. If we've got an energy deficit in 2019, we can't sit up in the dark till 2041. And people say, well, why don't you use the recall power from Labrador? Well, we have 300 megawatts of power available for recall from the Upper Churchill. But we use that power in Labrador. There's only 80 megawatts of that power available through most of the winter months. IOC needs almost all of that for its expansion. Never mind what's happening in Wildbush Mines. We need about 500 megawatts of power just in Labrador for proposed mining developments. And we've got 80. And people will try to dazzle you with things like 92A. And what 92A is a piece of legislation that says that we can go to the Upper Churchill contract and we can take power back from Quebec, from the Upper Churchill, if we need to use it for economic development in Newfoundland and Labrador. And one of the 2041 crew was part of the 22 legal opinions we have had on 92A since 1971. Now, Liberals have done it, and PCs have done it. All administrations have had legal opinions. 22, just imagine this now, 22 law firms and lawyers, different groups of them, have all agreed, including Mr. Hearn, in the opinion that he was part of, that yes, we can do it, but if we do, Quebec is going to have the grounds to sue our butts off, and we will pay exorbitantly for doing that. So 92A is not an option. People long before I arrived in the Premier's office would have acted under 92A if it were in the best, if it was the best thing to happen here in the province. So we're going to explain all this. You know, nobody is trying to bamboozle anybody here. We need to do what is right for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we need to do what's right for our province so that we have a sustainable future. And that is why this project has been endorsed in principle by the business community in this province, including most recently the St. John's Board of Trade and business people of every political stripe. It has been, as I said, endorsed by the banks, endorsed by international energy experts, Manitoba Hydro, International, and Navigant. Across all political stripes and strata in our society, Muskrat Falls is being recognized for the sound project it truly is. Nevertheless, we have to do our due diligence as we probe the final numbers. As I said at the St. John's Board of Trade on Wednesday, this project will stand on its merits or not at all. And I sometimes feel that I'm running the greatest risk with Muskrat Falls. Poor old Mr. Smallwood has had the yoke of the Upper Churchill around his name for almost 50 years. I don't want to join him. I really don't. So since this project was announced in November 2010, we have engaged the most knowledgeable people in the energy sector to work out the fine details of this significant project. And the result of that fine-tuning will soon be made public. Last year, the Government of Canada announced its willingness to support Muskrat Falls, given its national importance both economically and environmentally. And during the recent meeting with the Prime Minister, he reiterated his commitment to the project and to the loan guarantee. And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that guarantee will mean to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. Doesn't come to the government, doesn't go to Emera and Nova Scotia, because it reduces the cost of the project, that money stays right in the pocket of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Simultaneously, we have engaged the team of independent professionals at MHI to undertake an analysis of the project and determine that it remains the least cost option, and we believe that it is. Yes, costs have gone up, but costs have gone up on labour, and capital costs have gone up. They've gone up for all of the alternatives at the same rate. So the ratio looks like it's going to be about the same. We continue to share thousands of pages of information with the people of the province and the opposition parties. As well, there will be additional reports that explore alternatives such as wind and natural gas. Nothing is being hidden from public view. Already we've released thousands of pages of information, including all the analysis we've had from independent professionals who have unassailable expertise in the energy industry. You know, you talk about opposition saying they want to call experts in the House. Well, they wanted to debate in the House of Assembly. Now they don't want to debate in the House of Assembly. They want to have a committee hearing in the House of Assembly. And I have to tell you, I've been knee-deep in this project since the very first day we started talking about, as a government, developing mull and gull and muskrat. And if I asked an expert from MHI on load forecasting, and he answered me, I'm going to tell you, I don't have the expertise to tell you whether or not the answer is right. And I can assure you that neither does Lorraine Michael or Dwight Ball, with all due respect. That is why we engaged MHI. Arm's length, objective, picked by the PUB, not our experts. And we said, Nalcor has done this work. You ask the appropriate questions of Nalcor in terms of this project, testing their methodology and how they've gone about this. And you make a judgment on whether or not their answers are sufficient or deficient. And you tell us in a report. And that report's going to come very soon. And I'm going to have it, and my colleagues are going to have it, and the opposition parties are going to have it, but you're going to have it too. And so we're going to have experts asking questions of experts and telling us whether or not the answer is reliable. That makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. Indeed, never before in the history of our province has a project undergone such scrutiny. Never before has so much detailed information been provided. We continue to make information readily accessible so that the people of Newfoundland and Labrador have the opportunity to engage in the discussion. The House of Assembly will debate this project under the same rules we debated Voisey's Bay a decade ago. The significant difference, though, opposition doesn't want to do it under the rules they did it. They want new rules now. But we're going to debate it under the rules they laid down 10 years ago, with a significant difference. The significant difference in this case is the international experts we've asked to come and ask Nalcor the critical questions and provide what they believe is the efficiency or deficiency of the answer. All the questions that need to be answered will be addressed through the work of MHI. Another difference from a decade ago with the Voisey's Bay project is that we'll be providing the analysis of those experts well in advance of the debate. And in my Fisher cut bait commentary, 2 years we've been talking about this project. 2 years. Where are your experts? Where are they? You've known this is coming. You've been asking for the debate. You've been preparing to go in. We've been giving you scades of information. You've been saying you had issues with it. So where are your experts? Well, lots of them out there. Tons of them. So I'm hoping that some expert analysis will be provided from the opposition parties, but I haven't seen any indication of it so far. Every member of the House of Assembly has a duty, including my own crowd. Everyone in the House of Assembly has a duty to be informed about this project. Our commitment to the people of our province is that the decision we make at the end of the day will be truly in their best interests. I only have one constituency. I only have one group of people I work for in this province, and that's the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. Our primary focus as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians must be on growing our means by taking hold of opportunities to fuel new growth in our economy. On the strength of offshore oil, Newfoundland and Labrador, for the first time since Confederation, has come off equalization and stands proudly in this federation today as a have province. But we will not be able to sustain this status unless we are successful in grounding our economy on resources that, unlike oil, are renewable and sustainable over the long term. Hydropower is that resource that secures our status as an energy superpower in this country. When the oil is gone, the water will continue to flow. And that water is power for growth, growth that is sustainable over the long term. Right now, the demand for iron ore and other minerals, particularly in Labrador, is white hot. The demand for power is growing. It is incumbent on us to strike. We have to strike while the iron is hot. Until now, the province of Quebec has used its geographic location to block our attempts to secure markets for surplus power. And that's the beauty of Nalcor's agreement with Emera, which gives us an unprecedented route to market by bypassing Quebec once and for all. That is why Muskrat Falls is just not another mega project, but a game changer. It's a game changer for Newfoundland and Labrador. Today, we are in the same league in Canada as Alberta, a true driver of growth in one of the most prosperous countries on the face of the earth. Tomorrow, with the power we develop at Muskrat Falls, our status as a driver of growth in this country will be secure. We have the power to bring on new mines in Labrador and Stream, to supply markets hungry for iron ore while driving growth, jobs, and prosperity here at home. During the construction phase, your region and your community will have opportunities to benefit as the transmission lines are built to channel the new power. At peak construction, we will see 2,700 people working on this project. Total income from the construction phase on the project will be $220 million a year for a total of $1.4 billion over the course of the project. And during the long term, you will reap the benefits that power supply security and rate stability will bring to our economy. Municipalities such as yours will be able to budget, knowing electricity rates will not rise with the price of oil, but will be stable for generations to come. This is all about securing our future, sustaining opportunities and opening up new opportunities in towns such as yours. I cannot overstate the importance of this project to our economic future. We will not wait in the dark for 30 years, squandering 3 decades of opportunities in the hope that some miracle is going to drop from the sky in 2041. We will seize hold of the opportunities before us right now, breaking Quebec's predatory grip on our hydro sector and securing a new revenue stream flowing in perpetuity from a truly renewable resource. Some of our neighbours in Quebec are talking about political independence. I'm more interested in economic self-reliance, and that is what we will achieve by securing energy self-sufficiency. This is all about seizing power to chart our own destiny, unfettered by those who would hold us back and keep us down. With Muskrat Falls, ours will be a diversified energy economy with power we can draw on, not just until the wells run dry, but generation after generation after generation. Power that will pour wealth and opportunity into our economy to sustain our grandchildren and their grandchildren long after we're gone. This is the chance of a generation. This is the chance of a generation for Newfoundland and Labrador. We must not, we cannot, and we will not let it slip through our fingers. Nor will we be blindsided by those who lack the foresight to see the big picture, who are more interested in managing decline than investing in the future of our province. So yeah, people who are interested in having a population of about 350,000 people who want to be a bedroom community for Alberta, yeah, you're right, let's not do Muskrat Falls. Let's just fix up Holyrood, because that's all we need to do, if that's your vision, if that's the future you see for Newfoundland and Labrador. But count me out. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. That is why Muskrat Falls development truly excites me as the Premier of this province. It takes our greatest hopes for the future and grounds them in solid bedrock. No other jurisdiction and no other generation would let an opportunity so good and so important slip through their grasp. Nor should we, nor will we. I urge you to do what so many others have done by taking a stand in support of this magnificent project. Rarely has so much been on the line in a public policy debate. And your municipality's economic future, and indeed the economic future of the province, is too important. It's too important to be held hostage by those who are intent on holding us back from all we are capable of becoming. You know, I keep telling people one of my favorite books in the whole world is Random Passage. And every year I try to go down to the films and take the book with me, because I am so struck and so moved by the first people who came to this place. And I think, my God, how bad was it where they came from that they thought this was good? You know, that they were living, you know, hand to mouth in houses that weren't airtight in the middle of the winter, with dirt floors and fireplaces that didn't work. They worked so hard they couldn't secure food for themselves properly, half starved to death over the winter, children and people dying from disease, and yet they had a hope for this place. They had a vision. Here they felt they could make a better life for themselves and their children. And every successive generation, they got better and better and better. But look how far we've come in our lifetime. We're all much the same age in this room. You know, my grandfather fished in the New England states. My father went to sea with him as his dory mate when he was 12 years old, out floating around the Grand Banks in the dory. And his father, my grandfather, would earn what he could from there. And my grandmother used to raise lambs, and she'd slaughter them in the fall of the year. And she had the frame of a baby carriage. And she'd pack all her butchered lambs, and she'd go out, walk out 5 miles, pushing this frame, and go door to door and sell her lamb so that she'd have some money to get the things that they needed they weren't able to get otherwise. You know, I heard my father talk about how the women in the community would go over to a house across the way in the evening because they had a window, and while others just had oil canvas. That's my father talking about. So look how far we've come. My grandchildren talk about technology. They frighten me to death with iPads and iPods, and they're all over the world. And, you know, from my father's generation to where we are, how far have we come? You know, I hate dating myself, but I mean, I went to school with splits. I did. You know, and when we hear people today, because there's not enough recreational facilities in the schools and the gyms and this and everything, which is all good and wonderful, but look how far we've come. Look how far we've come in generations. And we've secured in many ways the vision and the hope that those first people and the generations after them, they spilt their life's blood building this place. And we finally have, and we're all doing pretty good, and we're educating our children, and we still got bumps and we got needs and all of that. That's never going to change. And we're going to look after them as best we can. But we have an opportunity to come from this comfortable place into something magnificent. And when I said the other day, it's like raising your children, and you nurture them, and you walk the floor with them, and you feed them, and you encourage them, and you stay up doing homework with them, and you scrimp and save to get them educated, and so on. And finally you get them to a place that they're ready to go out into the world. And we don't say to our children, now go over there and get a job for $35,000 or $40,000 a year, my son, and you'll be fine, and don't worry about anything. We don't do that. We launch our children into the world, and we say, whatever it is, be the best you can be. Do all that you can do. Become everything you ever dreamt about. Make us proud. Have a life that's better than ours. Build a world that's better for your children and your grandchildren. Well, that's coming of age. And that's where I feel we are now. So we got to tap back into our forefathers and foremothers who came here, and the courage and the tenacity and the ingenuity and the innovation and the self-reliance, but the interdependence, but more than anything, the courage, the belief in themselves and in their community. We need to tap into all of that and take this lead. Our history burdens us. Sure it does. Are we all a little bit scared about this? You betcha. But you know something? If you're not prepared to take a risk, you might as well go lie down in the corner. You do every bit of study that you can do. You call on every piece of advice that's available to you. You weigh the risk, and you consider whether or not it's worth taking a chance. And if all of the odds are saying, and all of the research is saying, go for it, then you take a deep breath and you go. And what I'm saying to you as your Premier, and what I'm saying to you as leaders in Newfoundland and Labrador, let's take that deep breath and let's go and let Newfoundland and Labrador be all that we know it can be. Thank you so much.